What is happening? Welcome to my channel. My name is Matt Bradford. Today we are talking about, probably my favorite subject, which is improvising. I have spent most of my career as a musician from when I was a beginner to today really focused on improvising. That was always my main focus. So, I'm really excited to get into that today. We took a poll on Patreon. I said, "Do you guys want to see another song, or do you want to see something about something more a little bit more theoretical about improvising or something?" And the overwhelming majority of people wanted the theoretical. So that's what we do. We do what the patrons want, and if you're on Patreon, I appreciate you. Which brings me to this: today's lessons materials will be on Patreon. The link is below. It is currently $5 a month, which is $60 a year, which is less than a single lap steel lesson. So, if you're getting something you like out of this and you want it to continue, then please join me on Patreon. Also, I do private lessons, so email me. I have merch for sale. We have the cat guy. He's on t-shirts. He's also on hats. He's on mugs, right? This is my coffee. And Bones Guy, right? We always like to learn the bones of the songs. Well, look, Bones Guy. This was drawn. Both of these were drawn by my cousin. This one for a record that I did that there'll be more of called Just the Bones. So we have merch. I also build instruments. If you want a lap steel, right? I build fancy ones. I also build conversion necks for Telecasters, for Stratocasters, for stuff like that. So if you have a guitar sitting around that you don't use and you want a bolt-on neck that'll convert it to a lap steel, bam, hit me up. Email. Or the stuff is on Reverb. That link is below. I give you a better deal. I can without the fees and stuff, and we can figure out shipping, and we can, it's way easier for me to do that stuff direct. So if you see something you like on Reverb, just know that I can knock like hundreds of dollars off the price. And finally, if you like all this stuff, but you don't want to buy one of my shirts, you don't want to buy a guitar, you just want to leave me a tip. You're like, man, I don't want to subscribe to anything. I'll forget to cancel it, blah, blah, whatever. Leave me a tip. I would really appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to get into improvisation. I'm tuned to open D tuning, right? This is lap steel in open D tuning. And basically, let me say, we're going to be in a little more of a theoretical realm today. If you need more of the like bones of this stuff, then here's the link to the beginning lessons, and in there is the intro to playing lead. And it starts with letters, it takes us into numbers, it gets you to what we're talking about today. So if you're not sure, if you're confused about where the numbers are coming from or where these charts are coming from or some of the stuff I'm talking about, it is all covered in the beginning lessons leading up to this. Okay? Now, I'm not going to read people's names, because if it was me and I was leaving questions and stuff, I don't like it when people use my name. It makes me feel weird. But I know who every single one of you are, and I appreciate you. And if you were like, I wanted my name read, well, then shoot me a message, and I'll read it. Also on Patreon, a lot of times if there's like a simple question, I just post a little video in my robe and just like on my phone, and I'm like, this is how we do this. So, yeah. Been playing lap steel for about a year now. For the first 3 months, I mainly worked on my right-hand mechanics and keeping things intonated while learning major and minor patterns. As I have progressed, I find myself pulling from that same well and end up feeling like I'm recycling the same old pentatonic licks in different keys. When improvising a solo in a group, I'm good for a short blast, but I usually have more that I want to say. Presently, I'm limited in my ability to translate the notes I hear in my head to my lap steel on the fly. I can do this better on guitar, so I think this might come down to inexperience and more practice. But if you have any ideas for developing improv skills, I'm all in. Thank you. So, right off the bat, right, what I'm hearing is I'm good for short blasts, right, but there's more that I want to do, and I'm recycling the same old stuff. And we're going to see this kind of repeated, I know words, throughout these things. I'd like to know how to build a solo. I like your approach to the number system, things like start the solo on the 5 and on the 1. Maybe tips and tricks and hacks for us old fellas who just want to sound good enough to be part of the community. Right? Same as so-and-so stated above, also I seem to get into a rut with what leads I do try to use. I agree with the earlier statement about speed not being as important as accuracy and feeling that intuition for where to go in improvisation is my goal. Feeling the same as others. I got friends who want to jam. Any tips you have for coming up with things on the fly? Also, any hacks for remembering where your numbers are? Or is that just down to practice? So I have answers for all of these. Let's start with the first one, which is just like getting in a rut, building a solo. Let's start with building a solo. I'd like to know how to build a solo, right? I like your approach to the number system. Things like start the solo on the 5 and end on the 1. Okay, well, so for me, the key to building a solo is starting with having big ears, right? Hopefully we're not coming in right off the top, so we kind of know what's happening in the song. But one of the biggest things for me is having big ears, so knowing what's happening in the song. I have 2 tracks queued up for today. I have a mellow funk track, and then I have a track that it's like a rock track that kind of builds. Because how I'm going to build a solo is going to really depend on what the vibe is. If the vibe is mellow the whole time, so this is the funk track. Let me fix the count in. Okay, we don't need 2 bars of count in for every track on here. So check it out. This is the beginning of this, and this is this funky track. Right, and I added in that vinyl noise. I love the vinyl noise. Okay. So that's a track in G minor. And it's not even it's not even in G minor. It's just a G minor chord. The reason that's a great place to start for us is now we have a wide open, like there's no changes, nothing's moving. But also the energy's not moving, which means if I'm going to move the energy in my solo, it's going to be within a confined space. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. It's just like, is that the first thing? No, I want to talk about tone first. Okay? This track, there's a million tones we could use. But what we're not going to want is like a super high gain weird, like, if I had it like, nope. Right? We don't want that tone. Also, I gotta turn on my overhead camera. Oh, we're a mess today. So like, I want to be cognizant of what I want to do tonally, because if my tone fits, then everything else gets easier, and if my tone doesn't fit, then it gets harder. So this track, one of the things is it's really mellow and grooving. So the first thing I'm thinking is I want to be dynamic, right? I really want to start small, get big, be able to have notes that punch out and that don't, right? I'm gonna throw a little delay and reverb, just trying to similar to what I have in my headphones, because I like to play with some. Right, and so I'll put that on the track as well, but I want to feel inspired. I want to not wash everything out, and I always want to play with less gain than I think I should. And I know I play with a lot of gain. I know that. But like, it's a lot of times I'll hear people with like a super high gain sound on a track like this, and it just doesn't allow for any dynamic movement. So number 1 is going to be tone. And then number 2 is let's find a melody. Let's find something funky to make a hook. And so this is how I think about if I'm coming into building a solo. I want to move the energy around. I don't necessarily want to build the energy the whole time, but I want the energy to move. So I might think the first 4 bars, my energy is going to be at 4, and my next 4 bars, the energy is going to be at 6, and then my next 4 bars, maybe I'll bring the energy down to 5, and then I'll end on like a 7 on a track like this. Right? We're not going to 10. Because it's just a cool track, so we're all being cool. Okay? So if I have something like that, we're gonna start on a 4, right? And let it breathe. Okay, now what was that first lick? Okay? Now I'm trying to keep it simple. I just want to give you an example in the beginning. I'm trying to keep it simple, but the way we're building it is this. I have a lick, and I'm using the G minor pentatonic scale. It's on this side. I'm like 90%. Right? That's 5 4 flat 3 1. Okay. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It's right. I just did a song from Victim of Love. I did all the songs I've done, I think, except for Soul Shine. Almost all of the licks are minor pentatonic. Right? This is not, but it's a melody here. Right? If I'm getting stuck, if I'm playing that a ton, then maybe I start on a different note. Maybe I start on the 3. Maybe I start on the 7. If you start getting in a rut, number one is I would play the track. And as to the question, how do I get better at this, and how do I get better at remembering the numbers, and then also, what was the other one? Hold on. I'm limited my ability to translate the notes I hear in my head to my lap steel on the fly. I totally get that. I still have that sometimes. But I definitely know that sound. Right? The more that I work in a particular area, the more that I'm going to know what that area sounds like. And this goes back to something I've talked about 1,000,000 times, the bite-sized chunks. I don't eat a sandwich by just smashing it into my face. Right? I take little bites. So let's learn the notes just around this little X shape. This is a 7 1 flat 3 4 5. Right? And then because this is 7 1 7 1 here, we have it up here too. We cover this in the beginning lessons. But let's start by keeping the whole solo in just this area. It's going to make you think about all the different ways that you can get out of a rut, because now you're so confined. You can't just keep starting there. If you're in the rut, then start here. Start here. Start on a note that's not in the chord. What are the notes in the chord? Well, it's a G minor chord. It's a 1 3 and a 5. It's a 1. It's a flat 3 because of the scale, and then a 5. Again, if you don't understand it, go to the beginning lessons. But a 1 flat 3 and 5. So I want to end on one of those notes. And maybe what I'll do is think I want to end on the 3 except for every one except for the very last one. How am I going to make these? It's less about licks, and it's more about creating a coherent thought, right? Hey, buddy, how are you? Right? And then you wait for the response. Do, 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 from the bass, right? And then like, oh, that's cool. I saw blah, blah, blah. Do, 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 right? It's responding to me. I don't know what that conversation is, but like that. So if I'm here and I have this thing, let's start on the 7. I was trying to do too many things there at the end. I wanted to yell something at the camera, which is, so I started with, right, flat 7 1, flat 3 1. And then the very last one, I want to maybe change it up. Right? And now I said don't end on the 1 except for the last one. I ended on the 1 for every single one of those except for here. So let's do it again. I'm not going to end on the 1 until the last phrase. So I'm going to find something that I can do the first 3 times. I'm going to do it 3 times. I'm going to repeat it. Right? Don't waste a good lick. Repeat it. My favorite solos have all these repeated. right? Whatever the repeated thing is. So if you find something good, don't run away from it. It's like, that just was awesome. Let's bring it back. Let's hook everybody in. So I'm gonna end on everything except for this. So I'm gonna start with 5. I'm finding a little pattern and I'm repeating it, right? And I'm sticking in one area, and so this is gonna make me start to get creative. This is gonna make me start to try to change things around, and I've got options, and I wrote these down so I didn't forget them, right? Start on a different note, right? So if I'm stuck, if I keep playing the same, then start on a different note. Okay? Try the same notes with a different rhythm. So instead of right? It makes it feel different. That rhythm is going to be way a bigger difference than getting more notes or different notes. There's only 5 notes in the pentatonic scale, and most of my favorite solos are mostly pentatonic. Mostly. And then finally, change shapes. We're not going to do that yet, but so if I'm really comfortable here, well, if I move up to around my 4 chord, and again, I have lessons on the pentatonic around the 1, pentatonic around the 4, pentatonic around the 5. That's not even the beginning lessons. That's in other stuff. But there's videos on all this stuff. I got videos on lateral movement. So change up, instead of playing in a shape that moves back and forth across the strings like this, play a shape that moves up and down the fingerboard like this, right? When you keep developing each one of those individually, then you can start putting them together. So the first thing is trying to think creatively, get out of your licks. Part of it is we're not thinking licks, we're thinking melody. We're not thinking licks. And then the second thing is we're not thinking licks, we're thinking energy. Melody and energy and tone, right? So those things of dynamics, energy. So when I'm talking about energy, let's go to the other track real quick. So that track was G minor. And then I'm going to talk, once this is all done, I'm going to talk about building a solo and some ideas around how to do that. And then I'll finish up with some more like changing it up, getting out of the thing, whatever. But this track that we've been talking about, the G minor one, it doesn't move a lot. So there's not a lot of opportunities to change the energy, right? You can change it within so much, and we can move up. I'll get back to it. But let's go to one that the energy obviously changes. This is a rock track in D minor, okay? And 4, flat 3, so we got 1, 4, oh, I jumped the gun. And then here comes the big energy shift. Make the face! Alright, I just yelled make the face, but that actually is a thing. Like feel it, get into it, be stoked on what's happening, right? With the groovy one, I'm trying to groove and keep it funky and fresh and clean. On this one, I'm gonna engage my treble booster from DJ Lava Lamp, R2R Electric. It adds a lot of noise, but check it out. On my volume control, I have all this dynamics. So, okay, let me show you what I've got tone-wise. For this one, I've been using my satellite amplifiers, Elmer. I've been using my, this is a reclaimed Sugar Pine Telly lap steel. These are not the pickups, although if you want to buy the guitar and you like these pickups, I'll make a white pick guard for it and make a white pickup ring. I'd be happy to do that. I have some really cool white pick guard material, etc. But the point is, or I could do a blue that matches the paint, whatever. We could do options. But the point is, the way this is set up right now, I've been doing some pickup tests because I'm building a couple more out of this lumber. And this pickup is like a Jazzmaster pickup, and this is like a higher output humbucker. So I have a lot of control with just my pickup selector and my volume knob. And then if I add the treble booster, I'm still pretty clean. Right? And that's all on my volume knob. So for this track, you have two sections. You have that beginning section, which is mellower, and then you have the bigger section, which is like nastier. So you're going to want to have a way to change tones. Either it's going to be a pedal that you step on halfway through, right? Or you have a digital modeler or whatever, or you're controlling it with your volume knob, which is my favorite way to play, just because it makes the instrument so interactive. But whatever it is, finding that way to have multiple tones to be able to interact with the changes in the track, if that makes sense. And then the track itself, the whole time, it's the rhythm changes a little bit, so you're going to have to listen to it, but it's just a 1 to a 4 to a flat 3. Okay? That's the whole track. I need to take a drink of water. Okay, so the same thing here, where let's start with okay, I did that for way too long, but I was thinking, and it was painful. Let's start with this idea that I just want to get a melody that makes sense over these chords. So I would encourage you to find a melody that works for you, and then once you do that, then find another one, and then once you do that, then find another one. I wrote and recorded this track this morning, so I've messed with it very little. So let's see what happens. We're gonna improvise. This is I haven't really touched this track a lot, and I was like, why is I don't have enough juice? And it's like, 'cause that. So check it out. So I definitely got fancier than I intended to there, and I apologize. I'm gonna try to keep it simple as much as I can. So, but okay. So I'm trying to find something melody-wise that works, and right, it's got a nice. We hear that all the time. Flat 7-1, flat 3-1. Let's make that the basis of the thing. But let's find. So we have that, but we could also do, okay, I'm sorry that I'm all over the place. So let's do this. Flat 7-1, flat 3-1. Let's find a couple other ones. So let me start with that one, and I'll just yell at the camera about what's happening, I guess. You see how I'm making that, especially when you say something like, I do well in short bursts, well then let's create something that creates spaces for short bursts, right? I have this, everybody's latching on to that. Everyone in the thing is going to be latching on to that idea, right? Right away, how do I build a solo? There's so many ways, but creating something that grabs the listener's attention right away, and then once that big part comes in, which, that's a mistake. see what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna take that same melody and use it, and down here I'm playing it smaller, and I didn't even use the pedal. That was just the amp distortion. I feel like I let myself and Chris who makes Chris Vincent, I think, who makes R2R Electric. I feel like I let all of us down. So, but do you see what I'm saying? This right, when I get up here and I crank up right, I'm bringing the energy up. The idea of energy, the idea of movement, that is the thing that is going to make your solo way more interesting than playing a bunch of notes. So to go through like a track like this, and this brings us to building a solo. My primary focus is going to be melody and then energy and then licks at the end, right? Because speed is a way to build energy. It's a way to build tension and release. This is the whole thing. If I start on a note if this is my chord, my root, and I start, that needs to go somewhere. So there's tension, and then I need to release the tension. I can't just keep playing notes. I gotta let it go at the end, or not, and just be jazzy. But the point is, I'm creating tension, and then I need to release it. So one of the things that's cool about speed a lot of times is if you have that release at the end is a release, but it's coming from the tension. The same way you could do that a million different ways. Right? I'm still releasing the tension. I can't just stay here. I need to release it. So we're talking about energy more than licks, and we're talking about melody more than licks, if this makes sense so far. I'm still using notes from the chords, and in this case, around the 4 chord, I'm trying to either grab what's happening, that 4 to the 3, or I can do stuff around, we've talked about this a little bit too, and I got to get more of my, okay, improvisation 2 will be the pyramid of changes. I think I've done that a little bit, but like basically, the notes in a chord all lead to different, it's called voice leading. Can lead to different places. My 3 can go up to my 4 or down to my 1. But we're going the other way. We're going 4 to 3. So my 4 can go down to my 3. But it can also go, the notes in a 3 chord are 3, 5, 7. It can go up to the 5. If that makes sense. So, check it out. So on my 1 chord, I'll play a 5. Again. Now I'll go 4, 5. Right, I'm still on my 5. I'm just grabbing a note from the chord, and again, I talk about this a lot in the beginning lessons about how to like start with 1 note, 2 notes, etc. But getting my voice leading to go places is cool. Kind of all over the place today, but that's kind of my move. So it is what it is. Okay, so building a solo. Let's finish here. Building a solo, and this is going to also apply to getting out of a rut, but we want to start the energy at a point, and we want to end at a point. It's not necessarily a straight line, but I want to assign myself an idea of like, what's going to happen with the energy. A lot of times with a rock solo, I'm starting at like a 7 and I'm going to a 10. Or I might start at a 10 and dip down to a 6 and go back to a 10. Or start at an 8. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? And a lot of times, lower notes have less energy, right? And less notes have less energy. And less gain has less energy to a point. Too much gain and everything starts to feel really small. But I'm going to start with like less gain and lower notes, and I'm going to end up with higher gain, with higher notes, and this is, one more thing. Oh my God. And the reason to use these tracks and to not just loop them is to create a coherent solo. These jam tracks that are 14 minutes long let you just noodle, and now you get into a situation where you're playing something and you don't have anything to say. Because the whole point of the jam track is you're just talking the whole time. With a 1 minute track, with a backing track, the way I'm making them, the intention is you got to count in, and then you're coming into a solo. And you're going to play something that builds or that moves, and then it's going to end. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that's a great reason to not to sell myself, but that is actually the goal, is to like make money, I guess. Oh, when I go to play gigs, I was just talking with somebody about this. It's like I'm not playing like no one, like I'm there to sell beer. You know what I mean? And I'm there to sell T-shirts for myself. Like it's like that's just all this is. Is just I'm a T-shirt and beer salesman. Okay, check it out. Low to high, mellow to big energy. Can't start with that with the wrong tone, but B with eating it hard on that note. Here we go. Okay, I ate it there a couple times. I'm trying to. It's really hard. I do a lot of this stuff intuitively, and so trying to simplify it a little bit is challenging. And what a really cool exercise for me. Again, taking myself out of my comfort zone is going to help me actually improve. Doing that on video, not my favorite thing, but whatever. Okay, now, nothing too fast there, nothing too crazy, but you'll notice I started down here, right? I worked my way up, and a lot of soaring up high notes is really where I ended up. I really ended up just with that big, just like, and make the face, it helps. Making the face, people give me a hard time for my face, but like feeling it emotionally is gonna put me in a place that allows me to be less like analytical about it and more just like playing the notes. And I think the other part of this is gonna be, and this goes to I'm limited in my ability to translate the notes I hear in my head to my lap steel on the fly. Well, first step first, play less notes, right? Make it easier. The more notes it is, the harder it is to translate that stuff to the instrument. So I start with simpler notes. I know where the notes are. And then with those chords behind it, I know if I'm up here, right? I know we have that move all the time, that 4-3-1. Let's go look at the other track. Now that we're building a solo, let's go look at the mellower track that doesn't move as much. Now we're gonna be in the same energy area the whole time. And again, if you're wondering what notes I'm playing, I'm using pentatonic scale almost exclusively. We have the overhead shots, so you're not seeing as much of my face as I thought you were, which is probably a blessing for all of us. But make the face, And then so let's go into a place where I want to build something, and again, I want to find a melody or something. But it's got to be funkier because the track is funkier. So when I have this, it's got to be like something grooving. Just phrases, right? Let's make it a little bigger so we get a little higher up. still contained. Like we're just moving the energy. And if I have any critique of that, I would say I'm ending on the 1 too much. But you see how I'm moving the energy. I'm just moving between shapes here. And so I'm getting my energy to move. I'm starting low, I'm moving high. But I'm going to stay on the idea of, whatever. I want to end not on the 1. I want to end on the 1 less. But I'm starting with less gain, right? And I'm slowly bringing my volume up as I go through the solo. I'm starting with lower notes, and I'm starting with less sustained notes. I'm starting with smaller notes. I want to move my energy. The amount of notes can be helpful to, again, create energy, but you don't need it, right? When you think of a vocalist, when they start the song, if they start the verse, the beginning of the verse is not usually like full on like, yeah, like it's not that thing. Like you got to start small, right? You start off with that like, what am I singing? Who knows, right? If I go out with if it was like a, let's go to the lobby, let's go to the lobby, let's go to the lobby, yeah, and get ourselves a snack, right? You're not gonna start, let's go to the lobby, go to the lobby, right? Like we can't, that ain't gonna work. So it's gotta be, I'm sure I'm blowing up my microphone right now. So it's gotta be, we gotta start with the mellow one, and then we get bigger if the song calls for it. And we're thinking that same way on an instrument. I don't know why I feel so intense. It's been a lot of talking. Please let me know if this made sense and if you enjoyed it and if it helped. It's obviously very theoretical. I would tell you this. Download these 2 tracks. One of them is G minor. One of them is D minor with a 4 and a 3. It's like the simplest changes there are. And then try to start and finish. So hit play and start and then move the energy to the finish. And the more you practice doing that, the more it's going to make sense. And then when you're playing with people, you got to have big ears. If the energy for the solo is starting at that big, like, then you got to start. Right? If somebody's playing, you can't start with that, like, it's not going to work. And the same thing is also true the other way. If the intro, right, and you come in, doesn't work. So with improvisation, the biggest things, I mean, obviously you want to know what the notes are, and again, the beginning lessons or whatever, I have so many lessons on what are the notes, but applying those notes is going to be big ears. It's going to be moving the energy. And the same thing is true for getting out of a rut. Break it back down, start at the beginning again, right? Oh, you're stuck with the same stuff? Then start trying to get melodies, because melodies are going to change. Melodies are changeable. And so the same 4 chords are used in every pop song ever, a 1, 5, 6, 4. Go learn all the melodies from those pop songs. Go learn all of them, right? And you're going to start finding, don't stop, believe. I don't know if that's in the right. Don't stop believing. It's don't stop believing. I don't know. We'll have to sit down and figure it out. But the point is, like, learn all of that. The don't stop believing chords are the same as the Come On Barbie, Let's Go Party chords. And it's the Beatles, and it's Bob Marley, and it's Adele, and it's everyone in Green Day. It's everyone in every genre uses that chord progression. So learn some melodies. The more melodies you learn, I love funk and blues melodies. That a lot of times, if I can grab just what a James Brown is doing, or what a Corey Henry's doing, that kind of stuff. I focus less on what a Robert Randolph is doing because I can't do that. I focus less on what Andy Hall or Jerry Douglas or all these guys that can play stuff that I can't. I don't focus on that. I focus on the things that I can do, and then, I try to work on the things I can't. So do I need more speed? I'll work on that, right? And we have exercises for that, and I've got a million videos on that. But as far as improvising, it has to come from here and here way more than here. So it's going to be practice, and it's going to be moving the energy, right? Moving it, not necessarily up, but a lot of times up. But you want to move the energy up and down, make it breathe. That's the whole goal. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments. Join me on Patreon. Buy my guitars, buy my shirts, do all the stuff. Let's rock.